Avengers Endgame is directed by the Russo brothers, and it stars a bunch of people, but that's not important. What's important is we've been waiting forever for it. Well, it kind of feels like that. It kind of feels like we've been waiting for this movie for 11 years. In a big way, we kind of have. One of the main things I want to say about this movie is that if you're a chess player and you really want to see Endgame, you probably can figure out how it'll go down, because Infinity War, in a way, kind of wrote this franchise, the universe, into a corner, and there was really only one way to get out of it, and that's essentially what they do. This review is going to be completely spoiler-free, but if you're like me, if you're a chess player, you could probably figure it out. Let's get into it. People category goes over the acting, characters, casting, importance, and chemistry, all of which gets perfect points. The acting is specifically really well done. You take a look at all of these different people, all these actors, all these characters. They're all focused on in a satisfying, tasteful way. There's a lot of range with the acting with everybody. Acting gets 4 out of 4. Characters, I mean, what are you going to say? This is an Avengers movie in general, but also it's like the culmination of Avengers movies. It's the culmination of the Marvel Cinematic Universe up to this point. So as far as characters are considered, I mean, yeah, you know, everything there is to know about these characters are very diverse. They're very colorful. They're very different. They're very memorable. So 4 out of 4 for characters. Casting-wise, you're 11 years in now. If they recast anybody at this point, it would just be awful. Everybody does a great job. 4 out of 4. Importance-wise, does everybody play to their own strengths? Do they all have their own role to play? Do they, whatever? Did they have their own? Yes, yeah. That's one of the greatest things about all of these Avenger movies, even if you don't like Age of Ultron, even if you don't like, Civil War, whatever. They're able to take these characters and give them all a role to play independently, so they don't blend in together, and they did it again here. 4 out of 4. Chemistry-wise, they've been making these movies together forever. It just feels like they made this movie, and then they walked off set and hung out and had some shawarma, like in the 2012 movie. Yeah, chemistry. 4 out of 4. So, yeah, the people category gets 100%. 20 out of 20 possible stars. The writing category goes over the dialogue, the balance of the film, the depth of the story, its originality, and how interesting it is. I can't go too deep into the writing because I feel like I would really be spoiling you in certain areas, but I'll just be as generic as humanly possible. When it comes down to these Avenger movies, when it comes down to Marvel in general, you expect a lot out of the dialogue. You expect something to be funny and fun, and I'm not going to say it's not funny. It has its funny moments, but it's not the kind of movie, at least in my opinion, where you're going to remember much when it comes down to the dialogue. It doesn't have many one-liners. It doesn't have anything like that. There is one line in the movie that's really, really good, but I can't say the whole movie is great with dialogue just because of that one line. So, 1 out of 2 possible stars. How balanced is the movie? This is so weird because a part of me wants to say it's over convoluted. There's too many characters, there's too many places, there's too many things going on, and that's partially true. But at the same time, there's a very simple plot. There is a goal that everybody is going after. It's like a common denominator. Everybody wants to do the same thing, and they have a specific plan of action on how to do it. That's a perfect goal. Yet it's also kind of convoluted at the same time. That's why this is getting half points. 1 out of 2 possible stars. Depth of the story, I would say absolutely. What are you going to do? Half the population, it's gone. So that's a deep, emotional thing. There is a very deep core to what's going on here. 2 out of 2 possible stars. Originality. This is where I can't really dive into because there's an element to this movie that is not original. So what I'll basically say is even though it's taking from something that's not super original, it still feels fresh because of their take on it. 1 out of 2 possible stars. Is it interesting? Did it interest me enough to watch it, and did my interest ever lack while watching it? Obviously, it's one of the most hyped movies of the year. It's one of the most anticipated movies, so of course I was interested enough to watch it. But I'm still interested enough to see what happens next. So, full points, 2 out of 2 possible stars. At the end, the writing category gets 7 out of 10, 70%. Behind the scenes goes over visuals, cinematography, editing, advertisement, and the music and sound, all of which gets perfect points. Visuals, obviously, did you ever have any doubt that there was going to be some great visuals going on here? Not really. Obviously, lots of great visual effects things going on that are indeed impressive. That gets 2 out of 2 possible stars. Cinematography and editing, I'm just going to combine these. Really, really well done. A lot of superhero movies are, because there's so many characters and the camera has to kind of tell a story between all of these different people, and it does. Same thing with editing. Editing with superhero movies, but also action. And a movie like this is bound to have a lot of action, and if you edit it wrong, the audience would be entirely confused as to what's happening. Not here. It's very clear. It's very smooth. Editing's great. 2 out of 2 possible stars for cinematography and 2 out of 2 for editing. Advertising, it is as advertised. No false advertising here. This is what you wanted to see from the get-go, and it's what you get. 2 out of 2 for advertisement. Music and sound. Because it's such a satisfying movie with satisfying emotional aspects, the music actually does grab you. You do feel the music. The music helps the story in a way that's more than just typical for the tone of the movie. You like the music. You would listen to this music apart from just the movie itself. 2 out of 2 for that. Everything's perfect scores, so 10 out of 10 possible stars for the BTS category, 100%. As far as the narrative arc category, this is one of the categories that I was unsure of would get perfect points before going in because of Infinity War. And I'll tell you why in here in a second. Narrative arc goes over the introduction, inciting incident, obstacles, climax, and resolution. Here's the fact. I wasn't sure if there was going to be an introduction. I wasn't sure there was going to be an inciting incident. Initially, the two movies were kind of like a two-parter, and the inciting incident was essentially the snap in Infinity War. So I was unsure if there was actually going to have its own independent inciting incident. And it does. I won't tell you too much about what the inciting incident is. Just know it has something to do with Ant-Man. That's all I'm going to say. Introduction does a really good job, even though there's so many people to get you reacquainted with. The obstacles, because there is a very clear objective, mission, whatever you want to call it, they have things in their way that they have to get through first to finish their mission. Obstacles are perfect. 2 out of 2 for that. Not gonna lie, the climax of the movie is probably a lot of people's reason for watching the movie. I'll leave it at that. 2 out of 2 for that. Resolution, it does calm down, return to a new sense of norm. That's all I'm gonna say about that. So 2 out of 2. Narrative arc gets perfect points, 100%, 10 out of 10. The entertainment category goes over how rewatchable a movie is, how much of a good time you'll have while watching, your impulse to buy or own it, your impulse to talk about it or recommend it, and if it sucks the audience in, if it's engaging, if it's riveting, things like that. Rewatchability, absolutely, I would go back to the theater in a heartbeat to see it. I don't have the funds to do it, so I won't be doing that. But once it comes out, I will see it again. But that gets 2 out of 2. Fun experience. How much of a good time you have while watching? It's hard to say you don't have a fun experience with any of these Marvel movies, but this one in particular, you're going to have a fun time while watching. So 2 out of 2 for that. Your impulse to buy or own it. This is one of those movies where I wouldn't mind owning it or buying it. I would go out and I would buy it at full price if I had the finances. 2 out of 2. Impulse to talk about it or recommend. So this is when I'm like, was it discussion worthy or do you recommend it? Would you go off to somebody and say, okay guys, you gotta see this movie. I have to talk to somebody about it. It's one of those type of movies. I feel so awkward when I can't talk to somebody who hasn't seen it yet because I would spoil them. Yes, 2 out of 2 possible stars. Is it engaging or riveting? Does it feel like a movie you can't pause feel like you're going to miss something important or exciting, regardless on if something important or exciting happens. Does it feel like something will? Yes. 2 out of 2 possible stars. Entertainment category gets a rare 100% score of 10 out of 10. Now, with the specialty category, we have to ask ourselves, what do we expect to see out of this movie? First, as a franchise movie, as an Avengers movie specifically, how does it feel? Does it feel like it fits in? Absolutely. It feels like the culmination of everything else before it, like it should. It feels like kind of a finality of a certain way, like for Phase 3. 10 out of 10 possible stars. As a sequel, did people want to see it? Also, did it add anything new? Obviously people wanted to see it because of how Infinity War ended, but superhero movies in general, you kind of always have a demand to see them. Did it add anything new? Absolutely, and those are the things I can't talk about. 10 out of 10. For the Marvel Cinematic Universe in general, so for all these characters coming together, how did it feel? Honestly, I think it felt a little bit better. 10 out of 10 for that. Halfway decent. Did they make the movie that they intended to make from the get-go? That's an easy yes. 10 out of 10 for that. So the specialty category gets 40 out of 40 possible stars. So 100% for the specialty. If we add up all those points together, we get 97%. 97 out of 100 possible stars, which is a crazy good score. Obviously the highest 2019 movie that I've seen. But I have a lot yet to see. Actually, I haven't even seen Captain Marvel yet, so we'll get around to it. Guys, tell me what you thought of Avengers Endgame in the comments down below. And as for YouTube, you can subscribe to me. Hit that bell to be notified when I come out with my next review, and like it. See you guys next time. Peace out!